Thanks for joining me, Sarah Murphy, Director of BrandIndex, and Kate Kirby, Research Executive, to this webinar where we'll be showcasing our new release, the Filter by Metric feature. So during this webinar, we're going to go through a brief recap of the last enhancements, which were done last May, which we call version 6.0. We're going to go through the new features, which is version 6.01, and introduce some case studies. And we're going to finally wrap up by looking at a peek into the future with some development ideas. And then finally, we're happy to take any questions you may have. So BrandIndex 6.0 rollout was completed last May, and with all 15 BrandIndex geographies now with the same methodology and reporting. So I think it would be a good idea to have a recap of those enhancements that we saw last May. Firstly, we doubled the amount of measures from 9 to 16. Secondly, with the new launch, we shifted to full data collection for every single day of the week. So that means we're still interviewing the same number of people each week, but we are now evenly distributing the sample across the entire week. So previously we collected the majority of our sample on Monday to Friday and put any data collected on Saturday and Sunday into Friday and Monday scores. But now we are moving to the 7-day week, which enables us to firstly better measure impact around weekend events. Also, it allows you to capture news that might break during the weekend. And finally, it better measures impact around brands who might focus advertising over weekend periods. Thirdly, with the launch last May, we started asking a prompted brand awareness question at the beginning of each survey. So once a respondent tells us which brands they are aware of, only those brands appear in the remainder of the survey. So this survey improvement enabled us to provide an additional scoring option, those who are aware of the brand. Fourthly, now that respondents answer all BrandIndex questions for a single sector, rather than asking each question for a new sector, there is deeper data collection, and it's allowed us to create better analysis. Fifthly, we're now able to identify current and former customers, and it's only customers who now answer the satisfaction question. And then finally, sampling and weighting is now done per category. So that's a recap of what we changed last May. So the new measures that we asked included 7 new metrics, which, as we said, brings the total number of reported metrics to 16. So these additions of ad awareness and word of mouth exposure helps you to distinguish between paid and earned media. And the addition of purchase funnel metrics enables you to better connect the dots, if you like, between advertising, marketing, and communication activities. So now we're going to look at the new filter by metric feature. So this new launch provides you with the ability to filter by metric, which opens up a whole new range of analysis. You're now going to be able to slice and dice the data by all the metrics. This is a very welcome enhancement to the tool, and one which we know our clients have been requesting for some time. So we're very excited about this, and we hope you guys are too. So firstly, there's customer analysis. This feature allows you to look at your competitors and see which of your competitors do your customers go to most. It allows you to see which of your competitors have your former customers gone to. It allows you to drill down into customers and non-customers and how they rate you and all competitors. It's fantastic for prospecting. So who do your prospects currently go to? Which of your competitors are rated lowest by their current customers? And to whom did your former customers go to? It allows you to understand the effects of your advertising. So to be able to see how your advertising impacts things like buzz, consideration, and other metrics. And importantly, does your advertising generate word of mouth or improve quality perceptions or value perceptions, etc.? And finally, it's going to be very helpful around times of crisis management. So it will allow you to see how your word of mouth impacts all of your brand health metrics, and allows you to see what your customers have even heard about the crisis and are they talking about it. So what we'll do is show you where you can find it within the tool, and then we'll go in and look at a couple of case studies. So on the dashboard, this is a snapshot from the dashboard, you'll see you have your chart, filters, data and summary tabs. Filter by metric is going to be alongside that, and that will appear on every page.
Except multi-charts.
Except multi-charts, thanks Kate. So once you've highlighted that, if you're using it, it will be highlighted. So that's a way of knowing you've got your filter by metric set. So here's the multi-charts page, and you can see this is where you select your filter by metric at the bottom left. So here's an example of what you do. You go into filter by metric and you select the brand on who you want to filter. In this case, we're looking at Taco Bell. It's a US example, apologies. Then you'd select the measure you're interested in. In this case, it's ad awareness. And then you select whether you want people who are ad aware, for example, or even you can pick those who aren't ad aware. You can pick either response option. So here we're now looking at the scores for Taco Bell in the blue line and McDonald's in the orange line amongst people who are aware of Taco Bell's advertising. So you can see when you click on the summary tab, on the bottom right, it will show you who you're filtering the data by. So in this case, filter by metric is amongst those who are ad aware of Taco Bell. If you want to clear it, there's a clear button at the bottom, which is circled, so you can just clear that to remove the filter by metric constraint. So now we're going to look at a few examples. Just a quick note that we couldn't use data from every BrandIndex client, and unfortunately we couldn't avoid using data from every client either. But the intention is not to promote or embarrass any brand. We just want to look at the data to demonstrate the power of the new feature. And the examples we're going to share are not comprehensive or definitive. You'll find lots of uses for this filter by metric, and I really do urge you to go in and have a play with it and do have a look, because the case studies we have are certainly not comprehensive and cover everything. So firstly, this is a snapshot from the dashboard on the supermarket sector. So here you can see that we've ranked the supermarkets amongst those who are customers of Tesco. And the reason why, how you can see that is the bottom right in the summary tab. You can see in our constraint we've picked Tesco's current customers. So as a customer status is a measure, you can now filter by those people, like you can with any measure. And in this example, it's quite useful to see where your customers, or indeed your competitors' customers, prefer to shop. So here we can see that Tesco's customers tend to also shop predominantly at Sainsbury's, followed by Asda, the Co-op, and Morrison's in similar proportions. So you can also see that comparing customers of different competitors allows you to answer important questions, such as which of my competitors do my customers patronise most? Or which of my competitors have my former customers gone to? Or how do customers versus non-customers rate me? And even from which competitors did I gain my current customer? So in this chart, we can see that compared to Tesco, a larger percentage of Lidl's customers report having shopped at other supermarkets in the last 30 days. The filter by metric is also available, of course, on the bubble charts. It's available on every single page of BrandIndex, and this chart is showing those who are current customers and their consideration of a supermarket. So it's filtered by those who are, it's showing former customers of Lidl and shows the stores that they are most likely to consider. In this case, you can see that Lidl's former customers are most likely to consider Tesco and Sainsbury's in the top right-hand corner. Multi-chart allows you to filter by metric as well. So in this example, we have plotted Sainsbury's value scores amongst those who are current customers, former customers, and those who've never shopped there. So you can see the green line are those who are current customers, and that's their perception of Sainsbury's value. The red line are those who are former customers, and that's their perception of Sainsbury's value. And the blue line at the bottom are those who've never shopped at Sainsbury's and their perception of Sainsbury's value. And worryingly, you can see that Sainsbury's value scores have declined during the first half of the year amongst both current customers, the green line, and former customers, the red line. Here's the radar chart. Here you can see in the bottom right that we've filtered by Tesco's current customers. And here we're looking at the strengths and weaknesses of Tesco and Sainsbury's amongst those Tesco customers. And you can see that Sainsbury's may well be able to source customers from Tesco, as their customers are rating Sainsbury's far higher on recommendation, reputation, satisfaction, quality, impression and buzz. And actually, the only thing that Tesco's customers, the only measure rather, or perception that Tesco's customers have it more positively for Tesco than Sainsbury's is perception of value. And during the first half of the year, Sainsbury's current customers cross-shopped mostly at Marks and Spencer's. So these are all, we've focused on the supermarket sector in this case study, but it's just to give you some examples of how you can be drilling down and slicing and dicing the data by all the different metrics. Kate's going to talk you through the next case study.
Cool, thanks Sarah. So we're now going to have a look at how the filter by metric feature can help assess advertising effects. So the example we're going to look at today is Paddy Power. So earlier this year in March, Paddy Power had launched an advert, and it was at the time of the Oscar Awards and simultaneously at the time of the Oscar Pistorius trial. And so Paddy Power had launched this advert you're seeing here that said, "It's Oscar time, money back if he walks." So of course this was quite a controversial ad. So we're going to have a look at how it has affected various measures. So how does advertising seem to impact on buzz and consideration? Does it generate word of mouth exposure? And there's really quite a few things you can do with it. So on this slide, we're looking at Paddy Power's buzz scores, and we're looking at it amongst those who have seen advertising for Paddy Power, which is the blue line, versus those who haven't seen advertising for Paddy Power, which is the red. And you can see here that right in the middle of the chart, Paddy Power's buzz scores plummeted quite a bit, and more prominently amongst those who had seen the advertising. But what's quite interesting here is that even those who hadn't seen Paddy Power's advertising, the red line, even they had actually rated Paddy Power more negatively on buzz at that time. So if you want to kind of delve a bit deeper into that to determine why that might be the case, you could go and have a look at Paddy Power's word of mouth exposure. So that's whether people have spoken about the brand recently. And here again, you can see that those who have seen advertising for Paddy Power is the blue line, based on word of mouth exposure, and you can see that those who haven't seen advertising is the red line, and that's those people's word of mouth exposure. So interestingly, at the time of the Paddy Power advert, we can see here how those who had spoken about the brand recently with family or friends, they had actually increased on this measure, even though they hadn't actually seen the ad. So that's likely saying that they have spoken about this advert with family and friends. And interestingly on this one, we can see we're looking at consideration scores here, so just whether people would consider placing a bet with Paddy Power. And interestingly, even though buzz was rated much more negatively during this time because it was quite a controversial advert, consideration scores amongst those who had seen the advert still actually went up a bit. So yeah, showing that any press is good press. Then we're going to have a look at crisis management. So just a few weeks ago, at the end of May, eBay had a crisis in the sense that they had a cyber attack and encouraged all of their customers to go and change their passwords because their customer data had been compromised. So that would have, of course, had quite a strong negative effect on their perceptions. So on this chart, what we're seeing here is eBay's buzz, and we're looking at those who have spoken about eBay recently with family and friends versus those who haven't. So those who have spoken about it is the blue line, those who haven't is the red line. And we can see here that eBay's buzz scores declined much more prominently for those who had spoken about the brand recently with friends and family compared to those who haven't. So often during a crisis like this one, a lot of brands will kind of need to reevaluate certain things in terms of marketing and PR and advertising. And they might think, should we carry on advertising? Should we not? What's the best way to handle this? So if we look at the next slide, we can see here we're looking at eBay's buzz, and it's amongst those who have seen advertising for eBay, which is the blue line, versus those who haven't. And what's interesting here is that eBay's buzz, so the brand sentiment, is continually higher amongst those who have seen eBay's advertising compared to those who haven't. So that's kind of showing how even in a crisis situation, people who've seen your advertising are rating the brand more positively. And here we're just having a look at eBay's current customers, and we're looking at the overall brand health measure on the y-axis, which is over there, and then also on the consideration, which is on the x-axis, and amongst those people who are eBay customers. So we can see here eBay is in the top right-hand corner, and so that's really good because we're looking at the last 2 months here, or the last 8 weeks. So even though there's been this whole crisis, eBay's customers are still perceiving them quite positively on index and consideration. But if we go to the next slide, we can see here we're now comparing the last 8 weeks to the 8 weeks before that. We can see here that there has actually been a decline for eBay on both the overall brand health measure index and also on consideration. So this has actually impacted their current customers' perceptions of the brand.
So whilst eBay's current customers still have them as the most considered brand and have the best brand health perception overall, despite the crisis, what this chart allows you to see is actually how much have they improved or decreased over this time period. So whilst eBay customers still rank them highest, they've actually still decreased the most in terms of change.
Exactly. Great. And I'm going to hand you back to Sarah.
So, of course, with all the data in BrandIndex that you can export, you can also export the filter by metric data to Excel, and that allows you to create your own charts, of course. You're not limited by just the charts within the BrandIndex tool. So here's an example looking at the measures amongst those who have and haven't seen the advertising. And this is for Apple. So the green bars are showing those who are aware of Apple's advertising, and the red bar is showing those who are not aware. And you can see consistently that for every metric, those people who are aware of the advertising rank Apple more positively. Similarly, you can drill down, export the data, and cut the data by demographics. So here we're able to see those people who'd recommend Apple as a brand and how they fall out demographically.
And you can see here that while there's not a massive difference in terms of age, you can see that your upper income brackets, your 120K plus US dollars, is rating the brand much more positively on the recommend measure. And similarly for the black race group as well.
And here's an example of, conversely, not just recommenders, but those people who'd avoid the brand and how they fall out demographically. So to summarise, the new filter by metric feature enables far more enhanced analysis within the reporting tool. As we discussed, it allows you to do far more around customer analysis and prospecting. It does allow you to get some kind of idea of return on investment for advertising and assess the impact of that and your marketing and media spends. And as always, it's fantastic around managing a crisis. As we said, the filter by metric data is exportable to Excel, just like all the other BrandIndex data. We are going to be improving the summary and legend information. That will be coming soon. And as well as highlighting within the tool the sample size, and that will be appearing on all the tool tabs. And do just bear in mind that the filter by metric data is only available for brands within the same category. So if you're McDonald's, you'd be looking at the filter by metric amongst maybe your competitors like Burger King, Pizza Express within that sector. You couldn't be looking at a brand outside the sector. So let's have a look into the future and just give you some idea of what's coming. So we do have some development ideas that we are working on in the next few months, but we can't promise any dates, so leave that with us. The first one, which we're really excited about, is the in-market filter. So what this is it will allow you to cut all of the data by those people who are in the market for your brand. So let's just say you're an automobile company, you'd be able to cut the data by those people who are in the market to purchase a car in the next 6 months. Or if you're in the fast food sector, you'd be able to cut the data by those people who are going to eat out in the next 2-3 weeks, and so on. So that will be coming soon, and all that data will be historical back to last May, so we'll have at least a year's worth of data when that's launched. We're also going to be allowing you to look at the scores by positive, negative and neutral, all on a series chart. Now you can do that at the moment by exporting to Excel, but this is going to be a feature within the tool, which just makes life a lot easier for you all. There's going to be purchase funnel visualization, which just is an easier way of looking at the data. And really we do want your ideas, so do please feel free to get in touch with any of the team, because all the ideas are fed through to our development guys. So here's just an example of that in-market filter we were talking about. So here's the alcohol sector. So this is an example. How likely are you to purchase beer in the next 30 days? So you'll be able to cut all the data by those people who are in the market for your category. Here's an idea of the score decomposition. So you'd be able to plot the positive, the negatives and the neutrals for all those brand health metrics. And again, visualization of the purchase funnel. We've got questions here. I'm not too sure if this is the best forum to necessarily have them. So if you've all got my number or my email address, so do please feel free to pick up the phone or drop me an email if any of this you want some clarification on. And yeah, have a good rest of the day. Thanks for joining.